All right, let's do 32 teams and 32 shows.
Oh, yeah. Fire it back up, baby. Friday, two-a-days.
Over on the Commanders side of things, coaching staff stays the same. Ron Rivera is your head coach. Scott Turner is your offensive coordinator. And Jack Del Rio is your defensive coordinator for them. They went 7-10 last year, third in the NFC East, lost 4 of their last 5 games to end the season. The big news here, some pretty big losses actually for this squad, as well as some additions. But Brandon Sheriff is gone. Of course, one of their very, very good offensive linemen. Landon Collins is gone. Eric Flowers is gone. Ryan Fitzpatrick, who never really played for them, is gone. Matt Ioannidis is gone as well in the defensive line. You see that he is a guy that's going to be contributing for the Panthers. We talked about them a couple of weeks ago here on the show. They did give the extension to Terry McLaurin. He was ranting and raving about wanting more money, and every wide receiver gets paid these days. So he did get the 3-year, $71 million contract. Also out of town for them, Jamil Douglas is gone. Ricky Seals-Jones is gone. DeAndre Carter is gone. These are all guys that did latch on with some teams out there. The big news in the offseason, they trade for Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is going to come in and be your quarterback here. Andrew Norwell, left guard, they signed. Trey Turner, they brought in as well to play the other guard position. When I look at this, Jeff, listen, this has been my stance. This is not just based off last season. This has been my stance since he's been in the league. I'm not a Carson Wentz guy. I do not like how Carson Wentz plays the quarterback position. I think that Carson Wentz is going to cost you a couple of games every single year by the decision-making that he has or lack thereof when it comes down to it. So for me, this bringing in Carson Wentz thing here, for me, I'm kind of like, well, what are you doing? Like, I just don't get it.
I'll take it a step further here. They would be better off with Heineke still a quarterback. I really firmly believe that they would be better off with him as their quarterback than Carson Wentz. But to give up actual assets for Wentz.
I know.
When we just watched a year where Indianapolis had a top 5 offensive line, in any normal year, Jonathan Taylor would have run away with the offensive player of the year. It took Kupp being superhuman for him not to win that award. A defense that has an elite linebacker is he going by Shaquille Leonard now? Is that correct? Darius Leonard now going by Shaquille Leonard in Indianapolis, Kelley?
I have no idea.
Okay,
I love that you turned to me for that.
Okay, so I don't know. You usually know these things. But he had everything there. And the coach that loved him in Philly, in Frank Reich. And after 1 year,
and yes, you
get him out of town.
Shaquille Leonard.
Okay,
yes.
Thank you. That's all you need to know.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know about this guy. And
the 23rd graded quarterback by Pro Football Focus
surprised
in the
he was
league.
that high.
Yeah, in the league last year. I mean, so you were talking. Think about how big of a drop off there is from the upper tier of quarterbacks in the NFL, and Wentz was 23rd. So I mean, like, that should let you know something right there as well, because I mean, the only guys behind him are going to be all the rookies from last year, and all. Yeah, I mean, so it's like it's really the bottom of the barrel that was below him.
I wish I could argue with what Jeff said about Heineke, and it's just, at least when you look at what they gave up for Wentz, there's no world where that makes any sense.
No, it's insanity. It's insanity. And look, I'm not saying Heineke's any good. Right. I'm not saying that.
But we're saying Wentz isn't that good either.
But in order, you're giving up multiple draft picks when you have a guy on the roster who's probably equal to him at this point.
Absolutely. We'll take a look at what their draft looked like. How did this team stack up last year, and what do we think that they're going to look like moving forward? These odds pretty long on them to win the NFC East, in my opinion. Rightfully so. We continue with the Commanders here on the other side. We are talking the Washington Commanders. If you look at what they did in the draft here, they took Dotson with their first-round pick. They needed a wide receiver. They were still at the time unsure of how this McLaurin situation was going to play out, so they needed a wideout. They went and got that with their first-round pick. In the second round, they took Mathis from Alabama, defensive tackle. Good guy, a good solid pick that's going to step in and give them some big minutes. Then you've got in the third round, they took Robinson out of Alabama as well, a running back. So that's a little interesting that they would go running back there in the third round. But the safety in Percy Butler in the fourth round as well. But the big one here the reason I'm highlighting this is because Sam Howell in the 5th round, Jeff, my prediction is Sam Howell is going to start at least 4 games for this team this year.
Good. They'll go 0-4 and said 4 games then.
But it is a thing in which they are going to find themselves so far out of it towards the end of the season that they are going to play Sam Howell just to see if he is anything but complete garbage.
No, and you know what? If you're out of it, that's what you should do.
Yeah.
It's good that we did these 2 teams we did tonight on this show. 2 teams that are clearly notches below.
Jeff's finally happy with his what he has given him 32 teams.
I've always been happy. I just like giving, just throwing it back at you because you're a good sport, Kelley. You know that. But the Commanders and the Giants are clearly a notch below the Eagles and the Cowboys. Any way you slice it, there's no arguing that. But the Giants feel like the team. All right, it's going to get better. Will it get significantly better this year, record-wise? Possibly not, but they're clearly going to be better.
Well, because you can look at the Giants and you can at least say this. In the absolutely horrible train wreck coaching situation that was going on up there, Daniel Jones might not be as bad as he's looked,
Correct.
right? Like there is at least some upside potentially with Daniel Jones where we absolutely know what we get in Carson Wentz.
We think Daniel Jones is bad. We think.
Yes.
We're not 100% certain yet. Exactly like you said. We know Carson Wentz is bad at this point. We know that. His MVP form the year the Eagles won the Super Bowl, ended up winning it without him, that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Post-ACL Wentz, not a good quarterback anymore. And for Washington, it's just, man, I can't wrap my head around the fact that you look at these numbers from DraftKings, and this is across the board in markets. The Commanders are $3 shorter than the Giants to win a division.
I don't get that either.
They're a full win more than the Giants on a win total.
Right.
They're only plus 150 to make the playoffs. Now, I know the NFC is really weak, and there's going to probably be one nonsense team in the 7 hole. But come on. One on this team, other than unless if the defense goes back to what it was 2 years ago, can't assume that. And if Terry McLaurin is so good that he drags Carson Wentz to being average, this team is 5-12, 6-11, and Ron Rivera. And I know we all love Ron Rivera. Ron Rivera's an average coach at this point.
Look, you look at this schedule right now, and this is about the only thing that this team, in my opinion, has going for it because it is a fairly light schedule, 6th overall as far as on the easy side of things. Because look, they start the season out Jags-Lions, and I think that game at the Lions could kind of be the turning point of the season anyway, because they could lose that game and then spiral when it goes Eagles, Cowboys, Titans after that.
Matt, the first 2 games of the year, period. If you're Washington, you have to win those first 2 games because you're going to be a field goal favorite, at least at home, probably against Jacksonville. By the way, I will be betting Jacksonville week 1. And Detroit, where if the Lions get smoked by Philadelphia week 1, which could very easily happen, then people are going to back off the Lions like crazy in week 2, and Washington will probably be favored on the road. You better win those games because, like you said, it could go really quickly, badly, because weeks 4 through 10, the only game that okay, they are probably still a better roster is Chicago, and that game is in Chicago.
You look last year, this team was 22nd overall DVOA, the 21st offense, the 27th defense. And if you look at the offensive side, again, I mean, listen, not to beat a dead horse here, I know it seems like we're just like continually kicking Carson Wentz, but I don't think the offense got significantly better by bringing him in. So, like, I don't see a big jump here when we're talking about, where the advanced metrics and things are going to go with this squad. So where they have them from a projection standpoint, they got them at 7.7 wins. That would be a little bit under. It's right on. That's not really a bettable difference, but the season win total sitting at 8. Football Outsiders has them at 7.7. 0 to 5 wins 21% of the time. So 5 or fewer wins, 1 in every 5 simulations that they did. 6 to 8, 42% of the time. And then 9 to 11, 29% of the time. They have them making the postseason 29.6% of the time in the simulations that they ran. So you can see they're pretty down on this team as well. Their projection system has them under the 8 wins that they're listed at currently right now, be it only by fractions of a game, so it's not really like a bettable difference. And I think the only reason we're sitting where we're sitting, Jeff, is just because of the stretches of these games where you look and you say, okay, we think the Commanders are bad, but the team that they're playing might just be worse because, namely, let's go to Week 11 at the Texans. Let's go to Week 12 versus the Falcons. Let's go to, like you said, that Week 6 game, Bears. So there are games you can start to point at where you say, even if Carson Wentz is a quarterback, and even if we think that this team isn't as good as the 8-win total that's projected for them, those teams are worse.
And that is why the number is what it is, because this schedule is fairly easy. Where I can't believe that I'm saying this, but if they even if Heineke was the quarterback here, I'd look at this differently. Mm-hmm. I really would. I would say, all right, you know what? They're probably a 7-10. They'll win a few games that they probably shouldn't, but again, Wentz is just so bad at this point that you can't trust him to do anything good consistently for maybe more than a week. And you know what? Again, this is a team, Matt, where the in-season win totals will be fascinating.
Yeah.
Because if they win...
Even if they start off 2-0.
That was exactly where I was going. You beat Jacksonville and Detroit. Do we get a Denver-like situation last year?
Yeah.
Where this pops because they won 2 games that they were favored in? Does this pop to 10? And if it pops to 10, you are not walking, you are sprinting.
So what they do at Football Outsiders as well is they project the DVOA standings for the season. And of course, this will all change along the way, but it's just to give you an idea of just what this offense is looked at from some of these advanced statistics. 31st.
Not good.
2022, their projection on the offensive side of the ball, 31st in the NFL. Now, the defense, they do have ranked fairly highly, and there is some talent on that defensive side of the ball, no doubt about it. The defense might actually keep them in games.
Yeah.
It might keep some of these games a lot closer, even when Wentz is throwing the ball, left-handed like he did last season and all that stuff like that to the other team.
Great happening, Matt.
But, I don't know if the defense is going to be able to win games on their own for them is basically where I'm going with this.
I'll tell you, the one market that if we had access to is this division finishing position market, I would bet here. Because I would just put...
You bet them last?
Split that unit between third and fourth and call it a day. This team is not finished in the top 2 in this division. And that's a plus money bet.
Kelley, you could do that with the Giants too.
You could, but I agree with Matt. I think there's a chance that the Cowboys could have a horrific season and the Giants somehow surprise us on the good side, where I wouldn't mess around with that one. But Washington, I'm making this bet if I can.
Visit VSiN.com to get current odds, listen for free, find showtimes, and download VSiN sports betting podcasts.